All right, it looks like we're
It looks
live.
like we're live.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, got
I'm
it.
looking just to see if anything came up, but it must be delayed. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, it's a
It's
little
a
bit
little
of a
bit of a
delay.
delay.
All right. I think we're good.
Let's see.
Let's see.
Let's see. I think I got mine's up too. Let's see if it's
Bit of a delay.
got it.
All right.
Yeah, it doesn't. I see it on mine.
I think we're good.
Let's see. Let's see.
Sorry guys. This is my first time doing this, so I don't. Trying to. Yeah, I muted mine as well.
I don't know what. Here, mine looks like my window looks small, like it does on mine.
You said it looks small. Oh, that's my fault. I got it. I'm gonna make your window bigger.
Yeah, I'm looking real little on the here. We got 29 people in here.
Yeah, man. Got
a packed house. It looks like.
There we go.
Yep. Yeah.
Slack here.
Yeah.
Cut some slack.
We rookies.
We rookies.
All right. Want to just
man, we can hop in.
We can hop in.
All right, guys. So,
okay.
Welcome to the first live stream ever. Featuring Mario Fratto. You're watching a Black conservative perspective, and Mario Fratto's channel is Making the Case. Do you want to give yourself an introduction to the audience?
Yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out my channel, check that out. It's Making with Mario Fratto. There's a link in the title, so
Yeah, Mario reached out to me in my comment section. I actually saw him in the comment section on one of ABL's videos, and I clicked on his channel and watched some of his videos, and I was like, okay, this dude is legit. So just so happens, he gets in my comment section, and it's like, yo, you wanna collab? We should do it sometime. And then I saw somebody comment under that saying, yeah, man, I would love to see you guys talk to each other on live stream. So we made it happen. We made it happen on Twitter and the DM. And we wanted to make sure we can make it happen. So today we're going to talk about the Supreme Court, and then we're going to dig into the Breonna Taylor case. And we're just gonna kind of go from there. This is probably gonna be about an hour, no more than an hour and a half max. And then we're just gonna get right into it. So rest in peace, RBG, or the notorious RBG, is what they call her. Man, I swear. I think the Democrats literally run their constituents, their candidates, their political leaders to the grave, man. I feel like she was stressed out on her deathbed, according to the reports that she had a dying wish.
I mean, it's ridiculous that they even reported that. I'm sad to hear that. A lot of people's take on it was who. But I mean, that's it's ridiculous that they even reported that. I'm sad to hear that. A lot of people's take on it was who. But I mean, that's it's ridiculous that they even reported that. I'm sad to hear that. A lot of people's take on it was who. But I mean, that's it's ridiculous that they even reported that. I'm sad to hear that. A lot of people's take on it was who. decently good life, replace them for their job when they were surrounded by family and friends. It just seems really petty, I think, to say something like that about who's going to replace you. I think they would life they led in their something like that. So I think this is just more media propaganda. Nobody really knows for sure of that, and I guess that's what they want to run with right now to try and put some fire behind the Democrats. But I don't really buy it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think
Yeah,
when I
I agree.
first
First
saw
saw
it,
it.
first thing that came to my mind was like, okay, so
Like
the media
the
is
media
running with the
is running
story
with
that
the
she had
story that
this
she
dying
had
wish
this
that she thinks
dying
that
wish
for
that she
whatever
thinks
reason
that for
we
whatever
should
reason we
grant,
should
right? As
grant,
if that's in the
as if
Constitution. It's not.
Constitution.
But at
But
that
at that
point,
point,
you
you
made it
made
political, and
it
you
political,
basically
and you
gave
basically
the
gave
Republicans an open invite to
fight
just go
to
ahead and
just
just
go
start
ahead and
firing
just start
shots. I
firing
mean, that's
shots.
what
I
Mitch
mean, that's
McConnell
what,
did. And
and
the
liberals
liberals were
are
outraged on Twitter,
outraged
going
on Twitter,
crazy,
going crazy,
crying everywhere, liberal tears everywhere. It
It
was
was
great
great
to
to
watch.
watch.
Not her
Not
death, obviously her
not her
death was
death.
sad,
Obviously, her death
but
was sad,
just them going
but
crazy as if the world is burning and that
and
everything
that
is bad
it's
and
bad
getting on the Republicans. And I'm like, well,
I'm like,
I don't
well,
think it would have been as political
as
had not
political had not
that political
that
statement came out
political statement
right
came
after
right
her
after
death.
her
It's
death.
like if she actually said this, it's almost like she
She
wanted to
wanted to
make it
make it
political
political
right after
right
her death. And if that's a battle that you want, then
and
your wish is
your
our
wish
command.
is
We
our
can fulfill
command.
that.
We can
We might
fulfill
not be
that.
able
We
to,
might not be
honor the whole
Right.
wish, but we can make it political.
make it political.
And I think this is a for us. So that was a huge miscalculation on their part to think making this political would somehow hurt things about him. 21% of all voters
Hold on, it's saying they
in
have an
2016
echo.
said that the Supreme Court.
One second, there's a big echo.
One second, there's a big echo.
But now, let me see. Serious echo.
Oh,
The
the left.
in the stream. 5-second echo.
Well, I guess that would be
Well, I
me.
guess
Probably.
that would be me, probably.
Oh my god, I knew this wasn't gonna
Oh
go.
my God, I knew this wasn't gonna go.
Hey man, we're trying the best we can.
Trying.
He said just try and just seriously lagged and freeze from time to time.
It may be.
It may be.
Know how to control the stream, like to change that.
Turn my gain down
Turn
a
my
little bit.
gain down a little bit.
Text that said the echoes hear you guys barely at all.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to turn mine up. Bear with us, guys. Don't bail out now. This is good. These technical issues.
I wonder where it's coming from. Well, it looks like you're frozen.
I'm just. Oh, man, this is this. Catch a break, can we?
Oh, can't catch a break. Hold on. All right, what did it look like for you? It's frozen.
Wife, right?
Uh, it's probably it probably might be my internet connection. 1 second. Hold on. All right, I'm gonna check if it works better. Hold on. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, me too. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I'm trying to take another shot. Let me see if it works this time. I'm trying to install this real quick just in case. Let's see, is it? Okay, you can hear us. They got me, but not you. Ask them how the streaming is. Is it still slow or you sure?
You sure?
They said it's better.
They said it's better.
Okay. Um can they hear everything okay? Like is it flowing
Going
good
good
or
or
okay.
okay?
All right.
All right.
Mm-hmm. They said it's not
They
slow,
said
it
it's
said it's real time.
not slow. It said it's real time.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. got it. All right, one sec. It's probably my fault. I got terrible internet. One sec. I'm installing something real quick. Nah. Should have used Hangouts, honestly. All right, I'm about to stop, and then I'm about to use it on another computer real quick. All right. All right, streaming. All right, go to let's see. Oh, there you go.
Think
Grab you. I started streaming it again.
I think we might be good right now.
All right, how's that?
Somebody just said that's better and said much better.
Yeah. Let's see. Got it. All right, one sec.
Can you guys hear us both?
Good. I started streaming it again. All right.
It looks like it's good. It's just a delay now.
Yeah. Just a small delay. Got it. All right, one sec. Good.
Let's see. Hopefully, I think. All right, they said boom. Somebody just said, yeah, this is much better. Don't worry, we'll be here.
Praise be to Allah. That's just dude said. It's just a small delay.
There we go.
All right, one sec, and then we can get started again.
All right.
Something else. Praise be to Allah. That's
all right, yeah, I just got a feedback here. It's working perfect. Somebody text me.
Okay, awesome. All right, one sec, and then we can get
I think we're in business now.
Just want to pick up something else. One sec, just real quick. All right. So it looks good. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you want to just go ahead and start again? We'll start over here.
All right. We made it.
All right, guys. So second take. Welcome to. All right. So it looks good. Okay. All right. So you want to just go ahead and start again? We'll start over here. All right. All right, guys. So second take. We good now, guys? Welcome to.
I think so.
All right, one sec, because somebody was saying there might be a. Do you have a stream open? The stream open on the desktop. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, I closed mine and I only have it on my phone and I turned my Wi-Fi off, so it's just using data, so it doesn't use the Wi-Fi connection.
Gotcha. We good now, guys? We hear you talking. All right, one sec, because somebody was saying there might be a. Do you have a stream open? The stream open on the desktop.
Huh?
Just want to make sure.
Said one more problem. We hear you talking again from a minute ago.
Yeah, I see that. Gotcha.
Man, we can't catch a break here.
Nah, man. Maybe it's my fault. We hear you talking again. One more problem.
I don't know though. It could just be something with the software because I got some text that said audio and video is good now.
Okay, are they saying it's good now?
Oh wait, now they just said wait. Man.
Nah, man. Maybe it's my fault. I guess my question is, do I need to close Skype or do I need to close OBS?
Okay, are they saying it's good now?
Should we just do that after each one of us talks? Just hit mute and see if that works? Yeah, I hear you.
I guess my question is, do I need to close Skype or do I need to close OBS? Just have to mute it. Can you hear me?
Okay, ask them, does that sound better?
How's that sound now, guys?
How's that sound now?
Yeah, they said it was only you that they hear repeating.
Okay.
So we might be good.
Muted desktop audio OBS. Nice. All right.
Okay, what about now?
All right, I'm just waiting
How
to
does that
see what they
sound?
say.
Ask them, does that sound better?
How does that sound? What about now?
I said you
How's that
sound
sound
fine
now?
to me. I'm just waiting to get their feedback because we're on a delay.
Got it.
Okay.
Somebody said the live was off. Let me see
Okay, what about now?
if it's playing here.
How does that sound? How does that sound? What about now?
Somebody's saying it sounds fine now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're good. Yeah, I think it's on now. It sounds fine. Sound is good.
And the video is good too, right?
I think we're good. Sound is fine. Working now. All right, I think we're good.
All right, I think we're good too. All right. So, yeah, somebody's saying you have an echo again. You're still playing twice. Oh man. I turned the desktop audio off on OBS.
All right, I just got a text saying everything's good. Go ahead, working now. I guess we can just go, and then if somebody says they're getting an echo or something, we'll try to fix it.
Yeah. All right. Well, keep giving us feedback, guys. I'll monitor it. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties.
I turned the desktop audio.
My first time doing this, so
OBS.
I'm trying to. They're saying they don't hear echo.
No, I just got a text saying your audio is good too.
Okay. Okay. They're saying they don't hear echo. Okay, great.
All right.
1 second.
Yeah, people are saying I don't hear it. You're only playing once on mine.
All
All right, let's just go, and if we got to delete this because it's terrible after, we can delete it. But just keep giving us feedback, guys.
You can edit it in the YouTube editor.
I'm trying to.
Okay. You guys just keep giving us feedback.
Okay. Okay.
Someone said just do it.
Okay, great.
Just do it. All right.
YouTube.
All right, guys. So welcome to our second take of the first Black Conservative Perspective live stream, and I'm joined with Mario Frato, who is going to discuss some topics today. We're going to talk about the Supreme Court decision, the death of Ruth Ginsburg, and also the Breonna Taylor
welcome to
case as well.
our second take of the
Mario, you
first
want to
Black
introduce yourself?
Conservative Perspective.
Yeah, guys, so I'm Mario Frato. I have a YouTube channel of my own. It's Making the Case with Mario Frato. I hope some of my subs are in here. I put out some links for you guys here. And I just started this channel a couple months ago, I think the same time as Craig started his channel pretty much. So just trying to do a live stream for the first time with him and see what happens. But again, I'm a former defense attorney, and right now I'm just trying to work on this YouTube channel and doing some other things and see what happens.
Yeah. I saw Mario in ABL's comment section, and that's how I had found him. And then I clicked on his channel. I started watching some of his videos. I was like, okay, this guy is cool. And it just so happened he hits me up in my comment section. He's like, hey, man, you want to do a live stream? We should collaborate. And I was like, oh, that's great, because I was gonna think about reaching out him in the first place anyway. So
I saw Mario.
We got together on Twitter, and then we made it happen. So
comment section.
Here we
That's
are.
how I had found him.
Great.
And then I clicked on his channel. I started watching some of his videos.
Make this work.
I was like, okay, this guy.
The first time around.
It just so happened.
We're gonna get into the topics
in my
here.
comment
So
section. It's like, hey
we'll
man,
talk about
you want to do a
passing
live
of Miss
stream? We should
Ruth
collaborate.
Ginsburg, Supreme Court
And
Justice.
I was like, oh, that's great, because I was gonna think
again,
about
like I said,
reaching out
rest
to
in
him
peace.
in the first place, anyway. So,
but
we
you know,
got
the
together
biggest
on
thing
Twitter,
with that
and then we
is
made it
the
happen.
firestorm that came
Here
after
we
her
are. I
death.
think it's great. We're gonna
She
see
had
how
a
we
wish
can,
on her
make
deathbed
this work as
that
best we can the
she
first
didn't want
time
to be
around.
replaced into the next
So we're gonna get into the
president.
topics here. So
Was
we're gonna
elected,
talk about
and that
the
essentially
passing
started
of
a
Miss
fire
Ruth
on social
Ginsburg,
media in
Supreme
which
Court Justice.
Republicans and Democrats
And
basically going
yeah, like
back
I said,
and
rest
forth
in
with each
peace.
other before the body could even get
But
cold.
you know, the biggest thing
So do
with
you have
that
a
is
quick take on
the
that?
firestorm that came.
Yeah, I
after
think
her
that was a
death.
huge mistake that
She
it
had a
turned
wish on
political
her
so fast,
deathbed
because this is
that,
something that
she didn't want to be
really
replaced into
energizes
the next
conservatives.
president.
Back in 2016,
Was
this was
elected,
something that
and
brought the
that
Never
essentially
Trumpers
started a
around for
fire on
Trump,
social
that
media
a lot
in
of
which,
people
you know,
were
Republicans
saying
and
that they couldn't
Democrats
vote for him
basically going
because of
back
his
and forth with each
personality
other.
and, you know, how he
Before the
acted, how
body
he
could even get
spoke.
cold.
There was just a lot of
So
things
do you
that
have
traditional
a quick take on
conservatives
that?
didn't like, but 21% of voters said that the Supreme Court was their most important issue, and ultimately over 90% of Republicans ended up coming on board for Trump. So I think now this is just reiterating that Trump has already gotten 2 justices on the court, and now he's has a chance for a third, and it looks like he's going to get it. And I think anybody who was a Republican thinking of voting for Biden or sitting this one out is going to say that this is an issue that they care about and they're back on board.
One second here. There's more audio issues. 1 second. Turn my gain down. All right, guys, is that better? We're just gonna try to make our way through it as we can. All right. Yeah. So
1 second here.
my take on that
more
is
audio
that I think
issues. 1
that
second.
unfortunately, Miss Ginsburg made her death more political than I think it would have been had she not
Turn my gain down.
made that statement. Apparently on her deathbed,
Right,
and who
guys,
really
that-
knows whether or not
We're just
she
gonna
actually
try to make
said
our way
that.
through it as we can.
And I just think it's
All
one
right.
of those things where
Yeah.
it's
So
a shame because
my take on
you know,
that
his
is that
McConnell
I think
comes
that,
out and
you know,
he's basically like,
unfortunately,
we got to replace
Miss
and make
Ginsburg
a
made
vote,
her death
and then
more political
the
than
liberals
I
going
think it would have
crazy
been
on
had
Twitter
she
in
not,
response, basically make him
made
seem like
that
a bad
statement.
person,
You know,
and
apparently
you
on
know
her
it's just
deathbed,
this
who
back
really
and
knows
forth
whether
in
or
which
not she
if
actually said that.
she didn't want it to be political,
And
or
I
if,
just
if
think
she
it's one
didn't
of those
want this
things
type
where
of firestorm,
it's a
then
shame
she
because,
probably
you know, Mitch
should
McConnell
not have
comes
made
out
that
and
statement,
he's
or the
basically
family
like,
should
you know,
not
we
have
gotta
put out that
replace
statement.
and make
Because
a
it's
vote,
not like
and, you know,
her
the
dying
liberals going
wish is our
crazy
command,
on Twitter in response,
right? And it's not like it's
basically
in the
make him seem like a
Constitution
bad person,
that
and
you know
it's just
we
this back
have
and forth in which
to obey that
she
dying
didn't want
wish.
it to be
Like we don't
political,
have to do that.
or
We have
if
to
she
move
didn't want
forward
this
and
type of
do what the Constitution says, and this is the
then she
president's
probably
obligation
should
to
not have made that
replace,
statement, or the family
as
should
soon
not
as he
have put out
can,
that
and that the
statement.
Senate,
Because it's not
majority
like
Republican needs
her
to
dying
confirm
wish is our
and
command,
get it over
right?
with.
And it's not
That's
like it's
just
in the
how it is.
Constitution that
Right, and I think that was another huge mistake on their part, that they're trying to make this about how they feel and turn this into a personal issue where they don't have any substantive reasoning here. So they're saying that this is a dying woman's last wish and they should honor that. And that, to me, that's just a really weak point. I don't think that resonates with a lot of the public, and I think that it's a mistake for them to make this something personal about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And honestly, she had gotten political before when she was, insulting President Trump. I can't recall exactly what she said, but she had came out and said something which was kind of shocking. Even Democrats said it was inappropriate for her to come out and get involved in politics, and she did it, and she had to end up apologizing for that. So again, while she was alive, she did it. Now with her death, it's political again, and I think that's a huge miscalculation because the court, especially the Second Amendment, is huge for conservatives. So I think this is going to motivate more conservatives than it is Democrats.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the Democrats are definitely more emotional about it, but I feel like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is probably the most anti-Second Amendment ticket that we've seen in a long time. I mean, Kamala Harris has came out, talking about having mandatory gun buybacks. aka gun
Oh
confiscation,
yeah,
in
absolutely.
my
Well,
opinion. And
I think the Democrats are
I
definitely more
think that that
emotional
type of
about it.
stuff is already
But
fired up
I
Republicans to
feel
go out
like
here
Joe
and vote
Biden and
and
Kamala
to
Harris
try
is
to,
probably the most
block
anti-Second
this
Amendment
the Democrats trying to
ticket
steal the
that we've
election.
seen in a long time. I mean,
Because I mean,
Kamala
really, the
Harris
Second Amendment
has
is
came out,
under
talking
attack,
about having
and that's why I think it's
mandatory
even like I
gun
agree with you. It's
buybacks,
even more. It's all the more
aka gun
important
confiscation,
that
in my opinion.
we do what we got to
And
do, and that Trump doesn't
I
waste any
think that
time,
that
which he
type of
hasn't.
stuff is already fired
Nominating
up
the next
Republicans
justice,
to
and
go out
now
here and
the
vote
Senate needs to do their
and
part and
to
go
try
ahead
to,
and just
block
confirm, and
this.
we'll deal with it.
The Democrats trying to steal the
Democrats are talking
election.
about trying to.
Because I mean, really, the
Trying to
Second
block it in
Amendment
certain
is
ways with
under
impeachment and
attack.
stuff like that.
And that's why
Honestly, I
it's
don't know if they
yeah, I
have
agree with you. It's
really
even more,
any
it's
real
all the more
options. I
important
mean,
that
it just seems to me
we
like
do what we
they're
gotta
just
do,
talking
that
at this point
Trump doesn't
in a
waste any
lot of
time, which
liberal
he
tears
hasn't,
and a lot of crime.
nominating the next
Yeah,
justice. And
they
now
really
the Senate
don't have any
Democrats are
options at
doing
this
it
point, and
to
that's why they're
confirm, and
making
we'll
this
deal with it.
emotional, hoping they could do
Democrats are talking
something.
about trying to,
They're trying to
block it in
use the
certain
old
ways
playbook
with
that they did
impeachment
with
and stuff
Kavanaugh,
like
but
that.
obviously this is a woman, so
Honestly, I
you
don't know if they
can't
have
say she
really
sexually assaulted
any
anybody
real
really and
options. I
get
mean,
some ground with that, and I
it
don't
just
think
seems
it's
to me like
believable.
they're just talking
So
at this
they're
point,
somehow
and a
trying
lot
to
of
make it
liberal
about
tears
her
and a lot of
religion
crime.
and also bringing her family into it. I saw there was a tweet, I think the name is like Dana Hool, but it was a Democratic staffer who said Amy Coney Barrett should be investigated on the adoption of her children because she has two Haitian children and they're black, and somehow that irritates the liberals that she
Yeah,
has these two adopted children, and they want this investigated to see if something was done wrong there. And I mean, I think that's just an attack that doesn't resonate with the American people, and the only way it does is backfiring because that's just a new low. And she's already been confirmed. She was confirmed recently as an appellate court judge, so she's ready to go basically. So I
Yeah,
think this is something they can fast track, and they will fast track.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is just standard Democrat playbook, in my opinion, when it comes to trying to break somebody down on things that doesn't really have to do with her opinion as a justice. I mean, they're talking about this woman's religion. I mean, she's a strong Catholic woman. I think there are plenty of
oh yeah,
a lot of
absolutely.
Catholics
I mean,
on
I
the
think
Supreme
this is
Court
just standard
um,
Democrat playbook,
seats,
in my
and
opinion, when
it's
it comes
just
to trying
to
to
me, it's just
break
nasty
somebody
politics,
down
man.
on
And then they
things
go
that
after the
doesn't
religion,
really
and then
have
after
to
that,
do with
like you
her
said, they want to talk about
opinion
her having
as a
two black
justice. I mean,
kids,
they're
and
talking about this
what that
woman's
really
religion.
means. It's like,
I mean, she's
no,
a strong
she's been a
Catholic
good
woman. I
Samaritan.
think
She's
there are
just been a
plenty
good
of
American.
a
And
lot
you
of Catholics
couldn't have
on
picked a
the
better
Supreme
candidate,
Court
in my opinion, in terms of on
seats,
paper,
and
right? What does it look
to
like?
Right.
me,
Okay, strong
it's just
conservative
nasty politics, man.
woman. I mean, I know
And then they go
conservatives
after
hate
the
identity
religion, and then
politics,
after
but
that, like you
sometimes you
said,
just gotta
they
play the
want to
game.
talk about her
Woman,
having,
like
two
7
black
kids,
kids,
large
and
family,
what that really
successful.
means. It's like,
You
no,
can't play the race card.
she's
You can't
been a
call her
good
racist.
Samaritan. She's just
You
been
know,
a good American. I mean,
if you're gonna
couldn't
attack her
have
on
picked a
something,
better
attack her
candidate,
on
in
an
my
actual
opinion, in
opinion.
terms of
Don't attack her
Hmm.
on
on
paper, right? What does it look like
things
on
that
paper?
have to
Strong
do with
conservative
identity,
woman.
and
I mean,
her
I know conservatives
family
hate
and
identity
her
politics,
religion
but
and things that
sometimes you just gotta play the
are
game.
just
Woman,
nasty and
like
just
7
personal, in my
kids,
opinion.
large
Right?
family,
It's just
And
successful.
yeah. Go ahead.
You can't
well,
play the
well,
race
that's what they're
card. You
trying to
can't
do
call
now.
her
I think they
racist.
realized quickly that
If you're
it
gonna
was a
attack her
mistake
on
to
something,
attack her on
attack her
her
on an
kids
actual
and her
opinion.
religion. So they're
Don't
trying to
attack
make
her
this
on
about Obamacare, basically,
things
and
that have
saying
to
that
do with
she had
identity and
criticized Chief
family
Justice
and
Roberts
religion and things
when
that
he
are
said,
just
basically
nasty and just
supported the
personal, in my opinion.
ACA,
Right? It's
and she
just
said that was a
yeah. Go
huge
ahead.
mistake. And how he used his reasoning, she said that he basically bent over backwards to prevent them from overturning Obamacare, finding that it was unconstitutional. So since she said that on the record, I think they're going to latch onto that. And I heard a senator today on Fox saying that it was a Democratic senator. I can't remember what her
Amy
name
Klobuchar.
was. No, it wasn't Klobuchar. She was a little older. I can't remember who it was, but she said she congratulated her on getting the nomination, but then said, "Well, she's gonna get rid of health care for millions of Americans, so I can't support her because of that." And that's going to be their big push. And they actually said that that's their only issue. And if you think about it, Obama ran on that,
Yeah.
and that got
Yeah,
Democrats to
Amy
turn out.
Klobuchar.
So I think if they need an issue, they're just saying she's going to take away your health care. She already said as much by criticizing Roberts. So the second this comes before the court again, Obamacare is essentially dead. So that's what they're honing in on now.
Yeah. I I mean, they are very afraid of that, and it just
Yeah.
goes to show that when they can't get their way, they just have these fits where
Right.
they just resort to just nasty, nasty, nasty politics that they always try to accuse the right of doing.
Right.
Right? It's just to me,
Yeah,
it just
I mean
it just shows how
they are
hypocritical
very
they
afraid
actually
of
are.
that, and
And
it
at the
just
end of the
goes to
day,
show that when they
we
can't
have the
get their
power.
way,
The Republicans
they just have
have
these
the power,
fits where
and
they
the
just
same
resort
people
to just
back
like just
when
nasty,
Obama
nasty,
tried to
nasty
nominate Merrick Garland,
politics
the same
that
people
they
that were
always
talking
try to
about,
accuse the right
the
of doing.
president, nominates and you need to
Right,
confirm
and
now,
it's
and
just
that
to
we
me,
can't
it just
have
shows
the
how
seat open
hypocritical
for too
they
long.
actually are.
Are the
And
same people
at the end
now
of the day,
that are trying to wait
we
and
have
push
the
it
power.
back
The
for as long as
Republicans
they can,
have the power.
thinking that they're going to win this
And
election when
the
there's
same
no
people
guarantee that they're
back
even going
when
to win. Like,
Obama tried
if
to nominate
we
Merrick
honor
Garland,
Ruth
the same
Ginsburg's
people
actual
that were
wish,
talking about, the
let's say
president,
that
nominates,
Trump
you need
wins.
to confirm now, and
Trump
that
wins,
we
that
can't
means that she
have
would want
the seat open
the seat
for
to
too
remain open
long.
for the next 4 years.
Are the same people
Right.
now that are trying to wait and push it
I
back
mean,
And
for as
there.
long as they
yeah,
can,
go
Yeah, it
ahead.
makes no sense.
thinking that
No,
they're
it
going
makes
to
no
win this
sense. And I
election
see
when
some
there's no
people in here. We got a
guarantee that
couple
even
trolls.
going to
Somebody
win. Like,
is talking about
if
Trump not paying
we
his
honor
taxes.
Ruth
There's some
Yeah.
stuff
Ginsburg's
going on
actual
here, but
wish, let's
anyways,
say that
that's kind of
Trump
a
wins.
non-story too. That
Trump
just shows
wins.
you how
That means
bad it
that she
is. I
will
was
want
talking to you about this
the seat
before the
remain
stream, but
open
New
for the
York
next
Times
4
just
years.
put out this story saying that Trump hasn't paid taxes in 10 or 11 out of the last 18
Right.
years. They have 20 years as returns, and they said people in his position should have paid 400 million more in taxes. And to me, that just shows
Yeah.
how good he is and how smart he is that he didn't, because they're not alleging anything's illegal. He just paid a lot less tax than he should have if they didn't try to pay less. And I think we all try to pay less taxes. So I think that's really a non-issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they love to try to hit Trump on how much taxes he pays and things of that nature. It's like, if there are advantages in the system, if there are loopholes in the system that people can take advantage of, they're gonna take advantage of them. And you can't
Absolutely.
blame him for doing that. He's taking care of himself. He's taking care of his family. And again, it just goes to
Yeah,
show the
absolutely. I
Democrats
mean, they
won't
love to try to
let
hit Trump
this
on
thing
how
go. They
much
won't
taxes
let
he
Trump's
pays
tax returns go. He's
and
been
things
in
of that
office
nature. It's
for
like
4 years now.
if there are advantages
Attack
in
him
the
on
system,
policy.
if there are loopholes
Attack
Right.
him
in
on
the
something
system
else besides
that
just
people can take
garbage
advantage of,
that
they're gonna take advantage of.
you're trying to dig
And
up.
you can't blame
That
him for doing
you know
that.
you don't have any
He's
real
taking care of
evidence.
himself. He's taking care of his family.
It's really frustrating.
And again, it just goes
Well,
to show,
it's kind of what they do with
let
everything is that they
this
go to
thing
some sort of
go.
personal
Don't let
attack,
Trump's taxes
and that's why
go.
their
He's been in
biggest
office for
attack on
4
Trump
years
has been
now.
calling him a
Attack
racist.
him on politics.
And this
Attack
tax
him on
returns is
something
basically
else
trying to say
besides
that
just
he's not
garbage
fair or he
that
cheats, but it's something
you're
personal.
trying to dig
His
up
taxes have
that
nothing to
you know
do
you
with
don't
how
have
he's
any
running the
real
government.
evidence
And
for.
to be honest,
It's really frustrating.
even if, which I don't agree with at all, that he's racist, his actions show everything but that. He's done great things for all sorts of minority groups, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans. So even if he, in his heart of hearts, that was something that he, position that he held, that he had some sort of bad views on other races, it's not showing in his he's done more than any Democrats have. So it's hard to believe.
Yeah, I love when people call Trump racist because every time they always call him racist, I'm always like, name something that Trump has said or did that's actually racist. And they can't come up with anything besides the Mexicans are rapists. And it's like, no, if you actually go back and listen to what he was talking about, he actually was talking about a very specific group of
Yeah,
drug cartels
I
and
love when people
people
call
coming
Trump
from
racist because
Mexico,
every time
basically
they always
trying
call him racist, I'm always
related
like,
to drugs
name
and
something that
violence.
Trump has
And
said or did that's
he
actually
wasn't talking
racist.
about all
And
Hispanics or all
they
Mexicans.
can't come up with
And the
anything
media
besides the
plays
Mexicans are
along with
rapists.
this
And
and
it's like,
tries to
no, if you actually go
divide
back
us
and listen to
with
what he was
these
talking about, he actually was talking
sound
about a
bites
very
that Trump
specific
uses
group
and
of
tries to
drug
make it seem
cartels
like
and
Trump is like the
people coming
biggest
from
racist ever.
Mexico basically
When
trying
if you actually
related to
listen to
drugs
him talk,
and
he's
violence.
disavowed the
And
KKK
he wasn't talking
multiple
about
times.
all
He's
Hispanics or all
disavowed white
Mexicans.
supremacists
And the media
multiple times.
plays
He's come
along
out
with
and
this
said
and
things
tries
that
to
the left say they
divide
want
us
him to
with
say, and he
these
said it, but it doesn't
sound
matter.
bites
Just
that
like
Trump
he
uses
releases this
and tries to
platinum
make
plan
it seem
for
like
Black America,
Trump is like the biggest
and
racist ever when
It doesn't
you
matter. It
actually
doesn't
listen
count.
to him talk,
You know, they start
Right.
disavowed the KKK
That was like
multiple
Black
times.
Caucus or something
He's
like that on
disavowed
Twitter.
white
Like as soon
supremacists
as it came out, it
multiple
was like,
times.
oh, it's a no for
You know,
us.
he's come out and
Did you guys
said
even
things
read it?
that the left say they want
Right.
him to say, and he said it.
You know,
But it doesn't matter.
give
Just
it a
like,
serious
you know, he
chance.
releases this
And that's the
platform
point.
for
There's
Black
all these
Americans.
memes out there
And
showing like, oh, Trump says
it
beautiful
doesn't matter. It
oxygen,
doesn't
and
count.
then they
You
show a
know, it's
liberal with a
like
plastic bag over their
he
head
tells it
because
like the Black
Trump
Caucus or
likes
something like that
oxygen,
on
you know.
Twitter.
And it's
Like
funny
as soon
that
as it
that's
came out, they was
taking
like,
it to
oh,
an
it's a no
extreme,
for
but
us.
that's basically what you
Did you
see,
guys
that
even read it?
anything he comes up with,
You know,
somebody, when we're getting
even
more
give a
feedback
serious
here,
chance.
people saying the show's repeating and something about your audio's echoing. Man, we cannot catch a break.
We can't. That's what I was looking at. And it makes it hard for me to do this because I have to.
They're saying that you're getting double audio.
Hold on. It got to be OBS. It has to be that.
Yeah, I got the same thing from two people that's saying like 15 seconds after you say something, it doubles
That's what
back.
I was looking at. It makes it hard for me to do this because I have to.
We're trying, guys.
Here's what I'm gonna do. One
Hold
second.
on. It got to be OBS. It has to be that.
Oh.
Man, we got a Biden 2020 in here.
Oh really?
Somebody said you need a mod to get rid of the trolls.
Here's what I'm gonna do.
Trying to, man.
Yeah, this person just said it's OBS for sure.
Yeah, it got to be OBS. Does OBS what? Oh, I turned down the desktop audio on OBS.
Oh really?
They said to mute it.
Mute it.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
I'm trying to, man.
Who is it? It's Admiral Pancakes is the one telling us this.
OBS.
Nice name, by the way.
OBS. What? I turned down the desktop audio on OBS.
Okay. 1 second. I think I see the problem. All right. Can they hear me now?
How's it sound now, guys, on his end? Yeah, he said gotta mute it, but that I think it's delayed, like I said. So let's wait a couple seconds, and then we'll probably get an answer from them.
Let me know if it's repeating.
Yeah, they said you have to wait 20 seconds to see. That's what seems like what the delay is, about 20 seconds.
Got it.
So I'm looking for some feedback here now. Okay. All right, that's Damien just said sounds good here.
Sounds good here.
Yeah, let's keep going, and then if we see that somebody says something, we'll address it again. But I think if you muted, now he said he's not hearing any feedback now. So, oh wait, now this person just said no sound.
Okay, all right, 1 second.
But Admiral Pancake said no feedback.
Sounds good here.
Let's see what they say. I'll check my text too. They said maybe we're good. Yeah, they said good on this end.
All right, what about now?
This person said they hear clearly too. All right. All right, we're going to be experts by the time we're done with this. But we probably should try that Hangouts next time. Audio very quiet. Maybe turn up your gain a little bit then.
You can hear it clearly. All right, guys. You say you good? Good. We're all good.
The audio's quiet on both ends or just his?
Feedback on.
Mm-hmm.
What about now? Is it just mine? I can hear
No,
you clear.
no.
All right, guys, can you hear me?
So they can hear
All
me.
right.
Yeah,
What
they're all
about now?
saying.
What about now? What about now?
Yes, but static and feedback.
What about now?
They said turn it up just a little bit. They said yes. Better.
Okay, better.
That's what they said. Hey, there it
Okay.
is.
All right, guys. I'm gonna ask one more time. Now,
They said it was low. Now you're at good
all right.
level.
Not.
They said not loud enough.
Oh my God. All right.
So you can hear you, but it's like your mic's on
All right.
low.
Right. How about now? How about right now? Better.
Better.
Honestly, some
You're
people.
way quiet, and you're quiet with static and feedback. This person says better. They say I can hear you. I feel like it's some people yes and some people
No, and
no.
that's
I
what I'm
don't.
saying.
They said
It's
better.
weird because I can't tell if the trolls are trying to mess up whether or not.
Yeah, because look, we got four in a row saying better, thumbs up, we're all good. Yes, sounds better now. I can hear him. I hear it. Thumbs up. You know what I mean? Like everybody's saying good.
And they're saying no audio. No, you're good now. No audio now.
Person said I'm listening through earbuds. Everything's all good.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got a text. All good. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
And another text saying your volume's good now too. Now I just got a text saying both talk.
All
Like, so I think we're good now.
right. One sec. Let me see something real quick.
What do you call it?
Calling a friend. Yo, can you hear my audio? Is it? What's wrong with it?
I think phone a friend. Just a
All right.
little
You there?
static. Yeah, people are saying it's all good. Sounds good now.
You think it's delayed?
They said it's a whole lot better.
Okay. And you can hear me talk, right? Okay. Just wait a little bit.
Yeah, I just got a text in all caps saying all is good.
All right. All right. All right. I just want to make sure I confirm real quick. You said it's delayed. Okay, got it. All right, that's fine. We'll just keep moving.
Yeah, I'm getting the messages here saying no static yet. Sounds good. I think we're good right now. I wouldn't even mess with
All
anything.
right. All right, cool. All right, well, we'll keep going. Okay. So to pick up where we left off. Yeah. So basically, at this point, they're trying to smear Miss Berry any way that they can. At this point, and you know, it's just come down to how nasty this election I think is going to get, and I think that really it's just more motivation for us to go out and show up to the polls and to make sure that our voice is heard, that just in case the Democrats do find a way to try to block it, which I don't know any way off the top of my head they could block something like this, but just in case, if we show up to the polls, we get President Trump reelected, then you know we're good to go. We have another 4 years of President Trump, and then we also are going to have another Supreme Court justice nominee. It's going to be basically 5.5 to 3.5 conservative liberal, realistically.
Right, I know. We got to call Roberts a half.
Exactly, realistically, and then we'll be good to go, and hopefully the liberals won't go too crazy and try to spark that war that seem like they want. So
Yeah, and what I think is going to happen is the conservatives are always more pragmatic, practical than the liberals, in my opinion. So I think, like Justice Thomas, if Trump gets reelected, I think he'd wait till like the third year or last year of
Yeah,
Trump's term, and if we still have the Senate, he'd step down because I think he's pushing 80
yeah,
right now, and he's smart enough to know that if he could, get himself replaced by that was RBG's mistake, that she really didn't want to step down, and if she would have done that, her seat would have been safe. But she didn't want to do it then, and then they lost the Senate, and now they're in this position. So I think they're kicking themselves, and it is kind of scary to think that they say they'd go with that nuclear option and basically push all sorts of legislation through, and they want to pack the court and say expand the Supreme Court to 15 justices, and obviously they'd
oh
nominate
man,
another six,
yeah,
and it'd be 6 to 9 instead of the 6-3 now. So I mean, stuff like that's just crazy. And I think if they push that message out, if the conservatives push that message out, it's going to scare people to think that they do something extreme
yeah,
like that has never been done in hundreds of years. No, nobody wants that, especially the people that are just in the
yeah.
middle. They don't want to see something like that.
Yeah, no, I think you made a great point. I mean, Ginsburg, she should have stepped down in 2014, 2015. That's what she should have did. And I mean, at this point, we can't suffer because of her mistake, right? Now, it's too late now. Coming around 2020, when you should have done something, 6 years ago, to try to guilt us into trying to push back what we want because you made a mistake. Now, I got an interesting question for you. What do you think about implementing term limits for these Supreme Court justices?
I mean, I'm all for term limits for senators and congressmen, but I think that part of it is that when you have the lifetime appointment, it's that that they don't have to do anything to gain favor. But at the same time, with the term limits, I guess they wouldn't either. But I think the lifetime is better. Overall, I just prefer that because it's why they do it, and you'd get a different makeup of the court. Like right now, Trump chose somebody who's 48 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Now that Barbara Lagoa, I think, was 38, and a lot of people were saying that he was going to go with her because look at RBG, she was
Yeah,
87. You put a 38-year-old, that's almost 50 years she could serve. Even now with Amy Coney Barrett, she's looking at 40 years if she makes it to 87, 88 years
yeah,
old. So if let's say they wanted to do 10 or 15-year terms, you could nominate somebody that was 60 and still be relatively confident that they're going to be there at 70 or 75. So you might get a better quality because even now with Amy Coney Barrett, she's only been on the circuit court, I think, for like a year or two. She was
yeah,
just went through her confirmation for that, and now she's going right to the Supreme Court. So she's the type of person that in 10 or 12 years at 60 she could be nominated if there were term limits, and obviously you would assume she'd have more experience and be a better judge. But I I don't think it's something that's necessary. I'm a traditionalist as far as the government goes. I think it's the same way that like Scalia is an originalist, somebody who looks at the laws and looks at the Constitution, and it is what it is. Don't try to read into it. And I think, look, this government isn't perfect, like they say, but it's the best there's ever been. There's never been a country with a better government that's produced more for their people than this one. So I think it's a mistake to try to change really anything as far as how it is right now. We had to overcome some issues, obviously civil rights, different things that needed to be fixed. But right now, I think we're in a really good place, and I don't see changing anything to be a benefit.
yeah, absolutely. Miss Berry is an originalist. She sees things, or she tries to see things in the way that the founders see them. She doesn't believe in the Constitution as a living document, and I think that's what most conservatives agree with. They want things to be carried out in a way that our founding fathers would have wanted them to be carried out. She was a Scalia clerk back in the day. Um, so, in my opinion, I think she is the perfect nominee. I really don't. Again, to me, it's obvious why the liberals are trying to play dirty to try to poke holes in the nomination because she is qualified and she is the perfect pick for us. And they're really just playing the same game that they tried to play um, with um, uh, what's who name is escaping me. The last one,
A Kavanaugh?
Kavanaugh. Yep, trying to play the same
Right.
game that they played with Kavanaugh, where they try to pull all the skeletons out of his closet and try to accuse him of sexual misconduct and pulling out things from what he did at his frat and trying to degrade everything about the man.
And it's just really laughable that they went to such an extreme thing with Kavanaugh, because you look at the guy, just a family guy, nobody had ever had a bad word to say about him. And then all of a sudden, 30 years ago, they're accusing him of being a rapist. And look, there's guys that, the frat bros, as they
Yeah,
call them, or people where they say, hey, there's date rape, or there's things that take place in colleges where nobody doubts that happens. But to try to say Brett Kavanaugh was one of those guys, looking at his past and his whole track record, that did not fit with his character at all. It was hard to believe. And the fact that they took it that far with somebody who's, even their own friends said, I don't remember any of this. Nobody really would even vouch for Blasey Ford,
yeah.
So and even something so empty and such weak evidence, they pushed it forward and actually thought people were dumb enough to believe that. That was a travesty. What they did to that guy, I mean, was terrible. He's in tears. His whole family. It's terrifying, really, that they could act like that. And these are the professionals on their side. These are the senators and the people who are supposed to be educated. And you see what Antifa and their uneducated street people do, but they're not much better. I mean, these guys are kneeling and sitting. And remember, they did that sit-in. They were sitting down on the floor in the Senate, and they act like children, and they're supposed to be the adults.
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. And honestly, this whole year 2020, man, like I'm not surprised by anything that happens. I knew at the beginning of the year, it seemed like when when Kobe Bryant passed away, and then you had Corona come up, and then you had George Floyd, and now you got Breonna Taylor, Ginsburg passing away, and then you got the election. It's just 2020 just keeps rolling, man.
Yeah, this year is like a book or a movie. Like, you can't even, as they say, truth is stranger than fiction. Really, this year is just unbelievable with what's going on, and that's why I can't imagine this election just going smoothly. Like, that would be a surprise if either way, if either person won and it seemed pretty clear and there was no issue with mail-in ballots and there was no issue with fraudulent votes or anything, and it wasn't contested and it didn't end up in court, I'd be shocked. I think everybody's expecting that at this point.
Yeah.
I think like 2/3 of the country, when they polled them, think that this is ending up in court, and I'm one of those people.
Yeah, no, I saw a video that was done by a Bloomberg guy, Axios, and they were talking about the red mirage and how with these mail-in ballots being so prevalent this time around for this election, what could happen is that on election night we could see President Trump winning on paper and being announced the winner. But then let's say a week later, it could come back when all these mail-in votes have been counted. They might say that Biden is the winner. And to me,
Right.
in that scenario, that is civil war, in my opinion. I don't
Right.
I don't see how the right would be able to accept something like that happening. But I have a gut feeling that with these mail-in ballots, with this corona stuff, it's a lot more likely than people are letting off, and that is what I'm really worried about.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, and I think we're going to see two different elections depending on which network you're watching. If you watch Fox, I think a lot of states are going to get called early on for Trump based on the votes that they're getting. And you're going to see CNN holding off and MSNBC holding off on making those calls and saying, hey, we've been informed by a source on the ground or somebody at a precinct that there's still more votes out there, or there's a warehouse in Cleveland somewhere or Milwaukee, and you're going to start hearing that there was something that happened with that in Florida, I believe in Dade County, with the midterms too, where they said, oh no, there was actually something, we found some votes. So I think you're going to see two different elections, and that Fox will end up calling it for Trump and saying he's won all these states, and CNN and MSNBC are going to say there's tons of votes out there and that we have to wait. And look, Hillary said flat out that Biden should not concede under any circumstances. And we know that he's a puppet. So he'll do whatever they tell him. So if they tell him don't concede, he's not conceding.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and you know, the CNN, ironically, the same night that they have played up, you know, this Breonna Taylor decision and tried to fan the flames on that, we're also talking about how President Trump is, you know, not necessarily committed to a peaceful transfer in power, and it's like, well, what does that mean? I mean, are you trying to say that President Trump is going to declare war if he loses? Like, are you talking about his constituents? Are you talking about his voter base? Like, who are you talking about, right? Like, because the president can't guarantee that his voters may not be upset or they may not, you know, protest
Right.
or do whatever. Like, he can't guarantee that.
No, and I think he does this to troll the media. It's like I remember when it was back with the disinfectant thing when they said he said inject Lysol or bleach, and then right after, once he saw he got all the backlash, he just said, "Oh, I was being sarcastic at the time." When anybody who watched it knew he was being pretty serious.
Yeah.
He was, but he knew that they would know he was lying when he said he's being sarcastic. So he intentionally just says, "Oh, I was sarcastic, by the way." And they're screaming on all these networks saying he just lied again. And he's a master at trolling them. So he's been doing the same thing with the election, saying, "Oh, when they say 4 more years, tell them it's 8 more because my first term really didn't count because of what they did to me." So he's acting like he's redshirting for a 5th year in college basketball because of an injury or something. Like he gets a do-over. And then he said, "It's 4 more years and then we negotiate." He just said the other day. So I'm thinking, when he says that stuff, he knows it's just getting them riled up. But I don't really foresee a scenario where he gets reelected now and then come January 2025, he says, "I'm not really leaving." I think that's super far-fetched. He'll be almost 80 years old at that point, and there'd be no reason for him to do something like that. I mean, they want him to be this dictator, but that's not real life.
No, Trump's not a dictator. I don't think that we will ever get to a point where he would not step down. Honestly, I think he would rather step down and go back to running the Trump organization and just kind of doing his thing as a marketer. Even though, he loves his country, obviously he wants to do the best for his country. But, if the will of the American people says, "Hey, you know what, we don't want you here, to be president anymore," I think he's gonna step down. I don't think he's gonna, he might go out swinging, but I think he's gonna step down.
Right. And I do think that if it goes to the court, he's going to win, especially now if he gets another justice. Just that 6-3, I won't count on. I'm willing to bet almost anything that Roberts would rule against him. So that's why this is so crucial, because you would end up seeing that 4-4 split. We know we can't count on Roberts. So if he gets this justice in, I almost don't see a way he loses if it goes to court. They're going to fight it with everything they got. But what you're going to see, I mean, we all know what's going to happen, is they're going to say this isn't legitimate again, and that he's not my president now, and that they already said he stole the first term. So and you think about it, that he's laying the groundwork for this now by fast tracking this justice through, and then that justice is what he uses to win him the election. It's just going to look crazy. And by the way, this is a total aside, but on his tax issue, even the New York Times just reported they saw nothing as far as financial connections to Russia in the last 20 years. So that narrative has been dispelled over and over. And now, I think there's more likely that Biden's working with China at this point for this election. That was such a joke.
Yeah, the Russia thing is interesting to me because, they keep pulling that out. And it's like, bro, y'all literally have zero evidence. If anything, his foreign policy has suggested that he's not in bed with Russia. He's, been adversarial with Putin. He'll come in the media and troll every now and then and, give a compliment. But it's like, let it go. Like, just let it go,
Right. Yeah. At this point, people still haven't gotten over it, though. I mean, people just can't get over that election. And you've never seen where people, it's like you go on Twitter and somebody has a bio of just a couple lines, they can tell you something about themselves, and they'll say resistor or resist or not my president. And it's so crazy to me because I couldn't stand Obama,
Yeah.
but there was never a point where that was part of who I
Became.
became, was somebody who was
It's a
anti-Obama.
personality.
You know what I mean? Like that's not like a never Barack or a never, or not my president. It was never that. It's like, look, the guy's the president, and until he loses, or till he serves his 2 terms. But I never got that consumed with him. So Trump's just so polarizing that he was like the perfect weapon to make these people crack.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, I see a meme every day, or a video every day on Twitter of, some, short haired, white, liberal crying and whining about, you know, something that Trump did. And hating Trump is a personality. It really is at this point.
Right.
It's a personality, it's a cult, it's a religion. And, you know, none of these people can ever explain what exactly has Trump done to make you hate him. They always want
Right.
to point to things that he says, and they really can't even point that out because they don't listen to him. Liberals don't listen to conservatives, one. So you don't know what he's saying because you don't listen. And at this point, it just seems to me that you've decided in your mind that you don't like President Trump. You're never going to give him an opportunity. You don't care. And that you're only concerned with causing more chaos and confusion to try to get your way. And that's the only thing
Right.
you're concerned about. So,
Right. And
go ahead.
well, yeah, and I think that's the sad part, is that they only believe what they're told. I have a good friend of mine who can't stand President Trump, and when Trump says something that he gets, triggered by or whatever it is, he comes to me and he says, "Translate this for me, because I know you have a different take than what I think. You're going to tell me he didn't really say this, and what he really meant
Yeah.
was," and that's something that liberals go crazy about. They always write in comments or post online that, why does what Trump said always need an explanation, and you need to tell us what he really said? And I think it's because they love twisting his words. I was talking to you earlier, off camera, and we were saying about when Trump said at his rally, he said, "Look at my African American over there. Isn't he the greatest?" And I took that. I saw Trump smiling from ear to ear. He was at the time, one of the only African American supporters in the crowd, and he had a sign, and it made him happy. So he said, "Look at my African American." Maybe he should have said my African American supporter, but it was just in the moment. He was happy. And he said, "Isn't he the greatest?" And the left turned that into, see how racist Trump is? Like, he said "my" because he thought he owned him or something. And I'm thinking they're twisting that so far that if your mind can go to that place, then you'll never give this guy a shot. If you can latch on to anything he says and turn it into something terrible, then he has no chance with them.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. No, I 100% agree. I think in that situation, he probably just got kind of, he probably lost his thoughts, honestly, in terms of thinking about, okay, what is the politically correct thing for me to say? And I think that's why he said my African American. And what I think he really wanted to say is, look at my black friend. There's my black friend. Right? And I think that's what he really wanted to say. And African American seems to be a term that they use to try to be politically correct.
Right.
But a lot of people don't even want to be referred to as African Americans.
No.
Because we're not African. I'm not from Africa.
Right.
I've never been to Africa. I don't know anything about Africa. I don't have a connection with Africa. So I don't understand why you're trying to refer to me as an African American. And the Democrats have basically used this term and have tried to, turn it to something where it's like, oh, you need to be politically correct. And I think he was just trying to play into that. And I think that's what happened with that comment.
Right. And what's funny about that is, like you said about the term, is that they always, these liberals with this, white guilt or whatever you want to call it, to where they go to a place where they need to feel like they're going above and beyond, and they can't treat black people as equal. They always feel like they need to do more so they can. It's more about themselves than black people. It's more about the white people who think they need to go further. And instead, why are we just called white? We don't say, you're European Americans, and it's good enough for us to just say white. But they feel bad about calling black people black, because they don't feel like it's proper. And, that changes over the years every time. there's words I used 5 or 10 years ago that aren't allowed anymore, that all of a sudden people say, hey, that's offensive, so you really never know what you can and can't say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the new term they love to use now is POC, person of color, where they want to lump. And apparently, the LGBTQ Q community is now, POC as well, where they try to lump
Oh,
everybody that's not white into this one
right,
term, and your plight is all the same, and it's just
right,
further dividing America along the lines of white and non-white. And that
right,
plays, in my opinion, to the Democrat agenda in the playbook of just causing more chaos and confusion, and then turning around and placing that blame on Trump when it's really their own social constructions that they've come up with that have caused this instead of President Trump.
right. And it really reveals who they truly are, in the sense that they think the whole identity politics thing they think is everything. Is that it never matters your character, it never matters what you've done in your life or how you think or how you feel. It only matters what your gender is, what your race
Yep.
is, what your religion is. And again, we had that conversation off camera, but that's the left has become this collection of all these people who just the only thing they have in common is they hate people on the right because they think the people on the right hate them. So whether it's women or whether it's Muslims or whether it's LGBTQ or whether it's black people or Latinos, they're all told that you have to be on our side because the other side doesn't like you for who you are. When really we just don't view any of that as something that should be the way to judge somebody. We think that they should just be judged on if they're good people or not, and not what they look like. And for them, that's their key issue, and it unfortunately it works. That they keep so many people out of the Republican Party by telling them we hate them, and that you can't go there if you're Muslim because they're Islamophobic, and you can't go there if you're black because they're racist. And if people could get past that, the Democrats, I don't think, would even exist as a party. They might be a third party,
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
that keeps them going.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I 100% agree because again, like we was talking about off cameras, most of these people, a good example, Muslims are conservative. I mean, they're the most conservative group of people on the planet. So it doesn't make sense for why you would align
Right.
with the Democrats and this super liberal agenda because it's literally against your culture. Right? Like, you
Right.
know,
Can you think about it? They're fighting for gay marriage, for, women to get equal wages, right? And I'm not saying these things are bad. I'm saying, but if you're Muslim in their countries, it's a mortal sin to be gay. They're throwing gay people off buildings. They're not allowing women to leave the house without a veil on, and and then they're on the side that wants liberation for everybody. And it doesn't make sense why they would ever support that, but because they're told that we hate Muslims and or Trump's Muslim ban, they're they're not going to come around.
oh yeah, oh yeah, they hate that, and with black people, most of us are conservative, right? You have, especially in the South, right? I mean, we I'm not saying we're not accepting of the LGBT community. I mean, we are, but it's like it's one of those things. Just we know, right? Where it's just like
Right.
a mindset was like very strong Christian values, and we know
Right.
that that doesn't necessarily align with those beliefs, right? And it's one of those things where I think that it's interesting how the left has allowed this to be pushed on us, and how powerful the language and the rhetoric of racism is that it can override a religion.
Right.
That's how
Right.
powerful that rhetoric of racist is. It's crazy.
Right. And it's you're right. And what's crazy to me too is that I'm Catholic, and it used to be that if you're a religious person, basically as a Christian, you vote right because you feel like the left wants to get rid of your religious liberties, and they're always infringing on you. Crazy to me that I think it's like more than 50% of Catholics are voting, but can't look. I don't have an issue with gay marriages from a moral standpoint.
Me either.
Religiously, obviously, I'm Catholic, but I don't have an issue with that. But you can't say that you're a practicing Catholic and you support that and you support abortion. those aren't compatible. And the same with Muslims and the same with Jews, to be honest. So 90% of the people who are religious in America, there is a problem in their religion with that. So it's just funny to me that they still go one way. Even the left. Look at how hardcore the left is embracing like Palestine, and they're becoming more and more anti-Israel. Yet 75% of Jewish people vote left. Even Bernie Sanders, he is Jewish, and he's aligns himself with Ilhan Omar and people that say some pretty terrible stuff about Israel and Jewish people. So it just doesn't make sense. It's like we're living in a simulation.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're more secular. They're more, not as accepting of certain people's religious beliefs, and to a certain extent, like from a libertarian standpoint, like it's like you said, I don't have a problem with gay marriage or anything like that. I just don't think. I think my problem is a lot of it is being pushed on people, right? I think that's the issue when you
Right.
start to push it on people as if you're trying to be like, hey, you should think about this, especially at a young
Right.
age, right? That's
Yeah.
when I think that a lot of people kind of stop and be like, I don't know about this, right? Because what
Right.
you do in your spare time in your personal life ain't got nothing to do with that, right? And I think the government should have anything to do with it, but at the same time, I think the left is pushing certain things on us. For example, I don't know if you know that movie Cuties on Netflix.
Oh, I heard about it. The Netflix. Yeah.
Yes, it's basically like child. You know, I ain't gonna
Right.
say the
It's
word up here
terrible.
because I don't know if
Right.
YouTube gonna censor me for it, but
Right.
yeah, it's stuff like that that the left is doing that a lot of people just can't get with and get behind because they're taking it too far and it's too extreme. So I think that we should probably get into Breonna Taylor.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. So Breonna Taylor, quite honestly, man, I'm sick and tired of talking about this, really, because to me, I feel like I try not to get too caught up in the details in terms of what actually happened because nobody knows what really happened down to the exact detail. The way I try to
Right.
look at it is that the police had a warrant. The address on the warrant was correct. It was a no knock warrant, but they chose to knock. I ain't gonna get caught in the details of whether or not I ain't getting caught in the details of that. That's what they said. They go inside. They were shot at first. They shot back. Breonna Taylor got caught in the crossfire. Unfortunately, that's the way I look at it. And when I look at it like that, you know, it sucks. It's terrible. It's tragic. But I think that justice has been served in the sense that, legally speaking, I don't see how the cops have did anything wrong. And I mean, you could say they came in and they was reckless in terms of the way they were firing, but one one cop got a charge for wanton endangerment for that for shooting
Right.
into the other apartment. But people are mad because they didn't get any charges related to the actual death of Breonna Taylor. Well, again, tell me, legally speaking, like, what did they actually, what actually went wrong for them to actually get a charge? What did they do that was illegal for them to actually get a charge? Because my interpretation of it is that it is unclear who was acting as the aggressor and who was acting in self-defense, especially considering that the law enforcement officers were acting in their official capacity. That is my conclusion based off of what I've read up on this situation.
And I think you're right. I mean, again, I don't know all the facts, and I think they're disputed. But the point is, this case was presented to a grand jury, and I believe in Kentucky, the grand jury is composed of 12 people, all right, from the general public, and 9 of those people need to say that they think there was reasonable cause that a crime has been committed, that there's enough evidence that a crime has been committed. And that has nothing to do with the Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, in this case. And we had spoken about this earlier, that Daniel Cameron did his job because it wasn't up to him. Had he gotten indictments on these officers for killing Breonna Taylor, then he would prosecute them. But it wasn't his call to make. And it's sickening to me that this guy's getting attacked, saying he's pushing a white supremacist agenda, and that people are saying, oh, had she been white, that then the grand jury would have indicted these officers, and then there would be charges. That's just crazy because again, these guys, the warrant was legal. It was originally a no knock. They changed it to a knock and announce. You had a neighbor say he heard them announce. But I will say on the other side of it, the warrant was based, from my understanding, the warrant was based on her ex-boyfriend being a drug dealer, and her residence was considered a place where they thought that they were running drugs out of. So apparently she had split with him, and she was with a new guy, and they said she was trying to move on with her life. And I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say that's the case. But unfortunately, for a lot of people, that's not how it works. That what if you're involved with selling drugs or you're with somebody in that world, you can't the next day say, hey, I'm done with that and I'm going to move on with my life, and it doesn't come back to haunt you. Unfortunately, that's just not realistic. So they showed up at the house, and he said, we were laying in bed. I didn't hear that they said it was police, but they forced entry. Somebody came into the house and he shot. And I don't blame him. If he really didn't know that it was the police, and he said he was thinking it was this ex-boyfriend, this drug dealer coming in to come after him or her. So that's completely understandable. I'm all for the Second Amendment, and they didn't end up finding any drugs. But unfortunately, once you fire a shot at the police and they were legally entitled to be there, they're going to fire back. And the one who was charged, I believe it's because they said he shot through instead of, they were in the hallway, but he shot through a window and a patio door. So he fired in two different locations, just kind of blindly, like firing in there. But obviously, if his shots were the one that killed her, he would have been charged with a wrongful death there, and they would have been able to go after him for that. And he would have been charged with some sort of homicide, whether it was manslaughter or second-degree murder, whatever. But he didn't do that. It was because he hit walls and there was a family living in another apartment, So he wasn't the one that actually killed her, apparently. So, I mean, it's sad on both sides. Probably had they known that she wasn't with this guy anymore and she wasn't involved in that life, maybe this warrant wouldn't have been issued and it wouldn't have been executed in that way, and she'd still be alive. But to say that Daniel Cameron is intentionally doing something wrong because he's black and he really supports white people, which we heard something similar saying this is part of a white supremacist agenda, to me that's crazy. That's like saying, with no evidence that we faked the moon landing or something. What are you basing Daniel Cameron is racist against black people or supports white supremacy on? That's just out of touch.
Yeah, so I think what they're trying to say is essentially is that there's this systemically racist system in which Daniel Cameron is a part of this systemically racist system, and that he was forced to basically carry out this systemically racist agenda against the family of Breonna Taylor, and by not charging these officers, in which these people have a fundamental misunderstanding because it is not up to him, right?
Right.
To move forward with that. So I think that's what it comes from. And I think these people feel like he has more power than he actually does when it comes to moving forward with what they would call justice. And to me, I just feel like when black people start to call other, black people, white supremacists and sellouts and coons and things of that nature, it just shows that they have a fundamental misunderstanding of what this man's job actually is, and that Breonna Taylor and the quote unquote black agenda is not above the law. It's just not.
Right.
Right. And it's just one of those things. I just got a lot of feelings on it. And I really don't want to get too deep into that, because, I could go on all day really about how I feel about people calling another black man, a white supremacist, or accusing him of carrying out a white agenda, because it's really just ridiculous on his face, really, to be quite honest.
Right. And this, unfortunately, is par for the course. If you remember back with Philando Castile, and I think that was in Minnesota as well. He was shot in his car, and that we had some live footage of after the shooting took place, where basically they said he was reaching for his license or registration and that he was shot. But regardless of what the actual facts or details were, that there was nothing that showed that this had anything to do with race, no evidence. And I believe the cop who shot him was Latino and Asian.
Yep.
He was biracial. I'm not exactly sure what, but this happened, and it's a tragedy. But immediately, the governor of Minnesota came out and said that, unfortunately, if Philando Castile had been white, he'd probably still be alive. And for a governor to come out and kind of be the person that's going to incite violence now, because when you if it's the governor, he's considered a reliable, legitimate source for the state. And he comes out and says, hey, you know what? They killed this guy because he was black with no evidence. That's just terrible. It's like it makes no sense. And then that was all they needed to feel justified to peacefully protest or riot or whatever they're going to do, because the governor just told you this guy only was killed for being black. And just looking at the facts as I heard them, if I was a cop and somebody told me I have a gun, and then he told me do not move, and the guy made a quick reach after telling me he had a gun, in that moment, who knows what you're going to do? And maybe that needs better training. I don't know. But to me, that had nothing to do with race. And there's still no evidence that it had anything to do with race.
Yeah, no, the race conversation is a distraction, and the Democrats love to play up the race conversation just for that reason, because it takes away from what we really should be talking about, which is, how do we lead up into that situation, right? Like, what personal decisions, what personal choices did that person make? Were they not following the orders from the police officer? How did they end up on a search warrant? What were they doing to put themselves in a situation where they had to interact with a police officer in the first place? And also, if it so happens that the police officer did do something illegal or wrong, the race conversation also takes away from which laws need to be changed on the books that can help prevent this from happening in the future. Rand Paul at least tried with Breonna's law to, try to get rid of no-knock warrants. Now, some people disagree whether or not it makes it, these warrants safer or not, being knock versus no-knock. But at least he was trying to do something. And then after the RNC, Rand Paul, is outside and people are talking about say her name, trying to attack him. And I'm like, guys,
right,
this man
literally
is trying to work with you, right? Like, you may not agree with exactly what he's trying to do, but he's somebody that obviously cares. It's his state.
Yeah, he's literally the guy that's done the most. Not only did he say her name, he put her name into a law that he was passing to prevent this from happening. He did the most he possibly could to fix this situation, and he gets attacked. But that just shows you how uninformed these people are, that they could attack the one guy who was doing exactly what they were yelling at him to do. You say her name, he said it, and he took action. And actually, Louisville has already banned the no-knock warrants now. But it's tough because I think that is a good tool because, like they said, I think Brandon Tatum has said and other guys have said, who knows from the time they announced that they were there, were they flushing and crushing drugs and getting rid of stuff? And there was stuff there, but he got rid of it. Who really knows? And I think that's the point of these no-knock warrants, that if it's a drug case and you knock and you're waiting and you keep saying police and knocking, it doesn't take long for somebody to pour something into a toilet and get rid of it. So if you're really trying to catch somebody with something that they could get rid of easily, you could see the benefit to it. But I think the risk is people can die. So in my mind, if it's just over drugs, you shouldn't do it. I don't like that because you are putting people in a situation where mistakes can happen and somebody's going to die. And I don't care if they had, 5 kilos of coke in there or some weed or whatever. There shouldn't be gunshots getting fired and people dying over drugs. We have enough of that in the streets, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and again, dying in the streets behind drugs and gang violence and stuff like that. That's why I always try to come back to personal responsibility. Like, why did Breonna Taylor end up on that warrant in the first place? So that the police had authority to kick her door in the first place. And
right.
Somebody just made a comment, and I think this is a great comment, something to talk about. I'm not sure if you can speak on this too much, but they say black people are really worshiping her. It's sad, and that's true. I think a lot of leftist Twitter, and black Twitter specifically, they're doing this new thing where they want to worship black women, right? Like this whole, protect black women thing, and Black Lives Matter basically being a feminist group, all the founders basically being LGBTQ black women, basically. It is to the point now where we are worshiping these people. We're worshiping people who really shouldn't be worshipped, right?
Right.
And I'm not saying, again, I'm not trying to denigrate Breonna Taylor in any way. I just have questions in terms of what was she doing in order to end up on that search warrant where they had a no knock, right? Where, like, and my understanding of it is that you just can't get one of those. You have to have a judge sign off on it, and it has to go through multiple levels of scrutiny before you can get it, right? Because they don't just
exactly.
Yeah, like, so
exactly, and that's what they had. They had an informant, somebody that they thought was credible enough that could give them this firsthand information about what they knew was going on, and they got the warrant. But I think therein lies the problem with what you said, is that you make everybody a martyr. Like, her case is different than George Floyd, obviously.
Absolutely.
George Floyd, he was in an actual police interaction, and I still don't know what he actually did or didn't do, other than he was in a police interaction and it went terribly wrong. You can place blame on both sides there, him in the sense if he was resisting, but that cop just shouldn't have been doing that. Like, when I saw it, I still can't justify that and say, oh, well, the cop did what he needed to do there. Like, that, to me, it's as close to murder as you can get, in the sense it's at least manslaughter, like the guy. But they did come out and say that he had enough fentanyl in his system and drugs, whatever. So maybe the cop didn't kill him, but just the visuals of it itself. And that's another case that now you have to see if the evidence actually does show that George Floyd died from drugs and that he was going to die from the amount of drugs in his body no matter what anybody did. What is this jury going to think? Imagine being on that jury knowing that people are going to know who you are. You're going to come out of that courtroom, and if you acquit this guy on those charges, and everybody in the city, it's going to burn again, right? There's no question. If that guy gets off in a trial, that's it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
there's no way, even whether it's right or wrong, there's no way.
It's gonna be Breonna Taylor probably times 5 or 10.
Oh man, I mean, that's what started everything, and that is one of the worst videos I've seen. The Eric Garner stuff was tough, So there was some bad situations. The Tamir Rice was sad, There's a lot of bad situations, but seeing somebody like that, and I think the amount of time that it went on, you can see how it upset people, So now if they don't think there's justice, I mean, look what happened, because they didn't charge them within 24 hours, or what did they end up charging the officers in 48 hours, 72 hours? But that was enough for the whole country to go up in flames. So if they get off now, it's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think Barkley made a great point. I'm not sure if you saw his comments, but he said essentially the same thing that you said. We're now at the point where we are lumping in all these cases into one thing when, again, this is why I say racism is a distraction. Because these are two totally different situations. I mean, we've lumped this in with Ahmaud Arbery, and Ahmaud Arbery has nothing to do with police.
Right.
And you can't solve any of these problems at an individual level because you've lumped them all together as just this problem of just racism. And that's why we can't really, get to a solution. And that's why there's so much chaos and confusion. Because we're making these situations that are completely different, that have nothing to do with each other, all the same thing.
And I think you just said it there. That is like a microcosm of the entire problem. The entire problem is you're taking years of systemic racism, whether it's slavery or Jim Crow, right? All that to now, where the only systemic stuff that we have anything to do with race is actually to give a little different treatment to black people or Latinos as far as affirmative action or diversity quotas or anything like that. So the only thing that's actually codified, that's actually into law in our system, is to give some sort of advantage to minority groups, but there's nothing there. So their whole beef, I guess, the people who say there's systemic racism, is just that the system is set up, the outcomes are unequal. And to me, and what the court has usually held, is that it should only be equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. If you and me both go try out for a team, or anything else, one of us might make it, one might not. But as long as we both got a fair shake, but what they want is the results to always be the same.
And that's
So
socialism,
right,
communism.
yeah, right, communism, right.
That's what
And
they want.
that exactly. You're getting back to their fundamental principles for them is that everybody's entitled to the same outcome. So you need to make. You hear Bernie say it about millionaires and billionaires
Yes.
all the time, like he's disgusted. And it's like, well, some people do work harder than others. Some people are luckier than others. But that's the whole point. But to say nobody's gonna. There's no incentive if everybody ends up in the same place. And like you said earlier when we were off camera, that where's personal responsibility come into that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, the appeal of somebody like Bernie is that he takes away personal responsibility, right? He takes away, okay, you know, I don't have to work as hard as the next person, and I can end up in the same place, right?
Right.
He tries to reverse it, and I think that what happens is that people don't understand that innovation comes out of the reward of the ideal reward that you may be able to make a lot of money off of it, right? That you can change lives, that you can affect, change, right? We're
Right.
not sitting here talking on this live stream without somebody thinking that, hey, I want to change somebody's life, or hey, I want to make, millions of dollars, I want to be rich. you know that's how capitalism works, and because of that, it's made everybody's lives better, and it is also increased the standard of living that we have in this country, and it's the reason why basically you can't go to any other country on earth and have a better standard of living than the United States, because of the rate in which our technological growth happens due to the rewards and the inequalities that are inherent in the system. Some level of inequality is good. Now, I do think capitalism does have excesses. However, I feel that the good outweighs the bad, um, very strongly based off some of the things we've seen in the past. With the Soviet Union, right? They was out
Mm-hmm.
here trying to make their own cars, right? And we see how that played
Right.
out, right? They tried to basically plan the whole economy, and
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't feed people, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't let the market do it.
Right. No, you're 100% right, and that's the problem is that all these people they're such hypocrites. It's just like Bernie Sanders. There's actually they've done a study and it shows that conservatives are actually a little more charitable than
Oh,
Democrats,
absolutely.
and they say they're very altruistic, as long as they're using other people's money. It's not never really themselves. They love giving away other people's money, and that's the thing that look at this country that you could put up a GoFundMe and say you have a sick baby or that you were hurt in an accident or anything. And if that story just gets onto the news or goes viral on social media, whatever it is, you put a goal at $10,000 in a couple days, you'll have hundreds of thousands because that's the type of people we are as Americans. We want to help anybody. I don't care if the person's black or Asian or anything, a man or a woman, a child. That's what happens. But unfortunately, if you take so much from us as people that you're taking 50 cents on the dollar at a certain point, then it's going to be hard for people to give it away. And honestly, we can spend our money better than the government. you know they waste our money. I saw something they were studying, like bear DNA in Montana, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in this program and things that if you got enough to use, it's one thing, but we're running deficits and wasting money on crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely. I 100% agree with that. I just think it all stems from college, right? And being in these liberal institutions where you're required and forced to take these sociology and these gender courses that have ingrained this idea that inequality and disparities are inherently bad, even though we see inequality and disparities everywhere, right? It's like we
Right.
talked about with basketball, the NBA, right? Like you know black men make up what 80-85% of the league. Should
Right.
we change that so that now it is only 13% of the league
Right.
is black
Could
men, right? To fit the population, right? Like
could
how
you
how does that
imagine?
work? Why are some disparities good and then other ones are bad? Because again, I feel like a lot of white people want to go in the NBA and probably make millions of dollars to play basketball, or Asians or
Right.
Hispanics, right? We see this across the board.
And you know what's funny? It really depends on which group it is, because it's okay if things, like you said, if it's the NBA and it's completely going one way, let's say in this case for black people, they're okay with that. But with Harvard or these Ivy League schools keeping out Asians because they say there's too many, they're basically it's like what you said. If they did that with the NBA, people would be outraged and say, "Oh, why would you do that? It's racist. Like, you can't base that on race. It just has to be whoever's the best for the position gets the job on the team, right?" But with Harvard, they say, "Oh, well, we have too many Asian people, so we need to take somebody else." And they're discriminating against Asians in that way because it's okay. That's still acceptable for people, you know? And it's just ridiculous that they play favorites with groups, and whoever's they decide has more political capital for them is who's going to benefit, you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if you've seen, but like UCLA is like literally 65, 70% Asians.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have some of
And
these. Go ahead.
well, and I think is that now I don't know, but I believe that California, the state schools, that they got rid of affirmative action. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember, but it's state school. The government can't
Yeah,
do it. Private schools can.
can yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that happened, and that's why, because like you said, UCLA is a California state school, because those laws only apply to the government. It's just like people with freedom of speech. They think that look what's happening to us on Facebook or YouTube or Google. We're getting censored, and people always chime in, wow, that's against my First Amendment right. And they don't realize those laws, the First Amendment only applies to government inhibiting your speech. So that's why you can go on a public sidewalk and they can't shut you down for protesting. But if you go into Walmart and you start holding a sign and marching around, they can kick you out. That has nothing to do with your First Amendment. But people are just misinformed, so they think these laws apply to everybody, and they don't.
Yeah, yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. I just think it's interesting in terms of where we're going in society. I think over time we're being pushed more far left, as things seem to go on. So I think that's why it's even more important that we get Miss Barrett confirmed as soon as possible. You got any predictions in terms of when the Senate is going to confirm on that?
I think the timeline they're on is going to be almost perfect. I know they're going to start hearing soon, and they're shooting for an October 26th, which is basically a week before the election, that they would like to have a vote by October 26th. And I'll tell you what, I'd be surprised if they're not within a couple days of that.
Yeah.
I would be, to be honest, they'll do it up until that day. Whether it's election day, that Tuesday, or it's that Monday, whatever day it is, I think it's going to happen, though. I don't see how, because to be honest, the country needs it to avoid a crisis, like we said, where Roberts sides with the liberal justices, and we have a split, and the Supreme Court can't figure out this election. We can't. That would be a real crisis for the whole country.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. So it looks like we're about 2 hours here, and probably an hour, and something of it was us trying to,
Was real?
yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
to get it fixed. So I think we're gonna go ahead and try to close out, and I just want to talk about the debate real quick. You got any predictions for the debate?
Well, I'm still going to be shocked if it takes place. It's so funny to me to think that, everybody knows Joe Biden's biggest weakness is speaking off the cuff. Even he's having problems with the teleprompter. We all seen the videos, him saying move it up, or he's doing interviews, and he's reading off a teleprompter with his answers, or he's at a rally, or not a rally, but a press conference, and he's specifically looking for reporters by name. So he's been so scripted that I think you're going to see the same thing at the debate, if it does take place, that he's going to be looking down at notes and have these canned answers that he's trying to read, and it's not going to come off well. And I think Trump's just going to demolish him. I think it's going to really, the contrast between how sharp Trump is and how witty and how he can improvise in the moment, and with Biden, who's so scripted and he loses his train of thought. I think that once those people who are still sitting on the fence, they say it's 5 to 10% of voters, that they really see that, I don't see how you could vote for Biden. I think he's going to really have a bad go of it there.
Yeah, I think that two-person debates are definitely going to be in the advantage of President Trump. And the reason why is because, like you said, you know, President Trump is better at speaking off the cuff. He's a straight shooter. And I think what's going to happen is that Trump is going to try to lure him into getting off of his talking points. And if Trump can get Biden off of his talking points, he can really, really, really hammer him, especially on certain subjects like the crime bill, right? If he can hammer him on the crime bill, if he can hammer him on Kamala's record, if he can hammer him on things like that, I think that he's gonna really be able to separate himself mentally from President Biden and show the American people, like, listen, look at this man's record. He can't even have a real conversation with me because he's so mentally drained and he's just so out of it that he's not even fit to be in office. And I think that a lot of people, that if there are people still on the fence, honestly, I don't know if people are still on the fence. I think a lot of people have already kind of, drawn their sides. And I think historically speaking, I don't think that debates really change things too much. But I think that could be different this time around because
Right.
it's just, I think there's just such a stark difference between Biden's mental capabilities versus President Trump's at this point. And if as long as President Trump can get him off his talking points, hammer him on things, because again, the black vote is what is I think is what it's going to come down to. I really do. If he can really hammer him on things that involve trying to make the black voters question Biden, I think he can really do some damage to him, as long as he can get him off his talking points and hammer him on very specific things.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. I think that Biden's true colors, we had talked about this earlier too, off camera, that we both believe that if either of these two guys were racist, it'd be Joe Biden.
Yeah,
It's like if
yeah,
you, anytime that comes out, whether, he's saying about my state was a slave state
yeah,
to relate to Southern voters or stuff like that. And, what he had said back in the 90s when he was talking about the crime bill about saying, that he doesn't want his kids in the racial jungle and all this stuff. Well, that was about segregation back in the 70s with the busing. But his true colors always come out. And you've never heard anything as blatant from President Trump as you have from Joe Biden. So I think you're right that he's so entitled to that black vote that he thinks he can say anything, like those moments where he said that you ain't black if you're not voting for me, whatever. And if something like that comes out in front of the whole country, it's going to look really bad. And I don't think Biden's going to be able to handle the pressure. I mean, he flips out on everybody all the time. He told the one voter, vote for somebody else if you don't like me, or he told the one guy he's fat and told him to do push-ups, or the dog-faced pony soldier, or whatever he said. So, and it's not a good look on Biden. Like Trump, you've come to accept that, and it's actually expected for Trump to talk a certain way. Remember Rubio tried to do it with him during the Republican debates,
yep.
and he looked like a little boy. It looked really bad. It only works for Donald Trump. So if he can get Joe to say, I'll take you behind the gym and all the stuff, he likes to talk, it's not going to look good.
Yeah, I think he needs to. I think one point, if he wants to see film, right? When you're playing sports, when you're an athlete, you watch film, right? To see what the opponent's doing, to figure out their weaknesses. The only film that he needs to watch is Kamala Harris when he hammered Joe Biden on
Right.
being a segregationist, or strongly implying that he's a segregationist,
Right.
right? His opposition to busing, right? He hammer him on that. Again, that's Kamala's playbook.
Right.
And the Me Too thing, right? The sexual assault and the one rape allegation.
Right. That's amazing that stuff's went away. I mean, it's not because it's on the left, but I'm just saying, like, it's crazy. There's so much to attack Biden on that stuff's gotten buried. He's, in a lot of ways, he's like their Trump, how he was back in 2016. They thought he was the gift that keeps on giving, as far as he said that Judge Curiel, because he was Mexican, he couldn't be fair, to Trump. He said all these things. Remember the Gold Star parents?
Yeah.
They said he attacked. And every time Trump did something, they said, this is it. It's over for him. Then the Access Hollywood tape came out, and they thought that was really it. And it never was. And I think that's what happened with Biden, that there's been so many of these like dementia moments for him, or things where, if you remember from the Democratic debates, they all thought he was done. All the
Yep.
people on the left. If you watch CNN or anywhere, they said, well, it's obvious that he's not going to win. He was at like 5% in the odds of getting the nomination. And then, this whatever it was, the smoke filled room or something, they all got together and they dropped out. And this is what's funny is they did it to themselves again. They forced Hillary through in 2016 and cheated Bernie out of it. And this time they pushed it to get Joe Biden. So they're going to get their wish at these debates. Because let's be honest, Bernie Sanders, like him or not, as crazy as he is, his brain's a lot more functioning than Joe Biden's, and he would be able to perform a heck of a lot better at a debate than Joe Biden.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They screwed Bernie over this time too. I mean, when they,
Right,
before Super Tuesday,
right,
when they made Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar drop out while they kept Pocahontas in the race,
right,
essentially they matched up Bernie and Pocahontas because they have the far left and they left
right.
the moderates for Joe Biden,
Yep,
and essentially
yep,
that's them screwing over Bernie. And what was surprising to me is that Pocahontas was in bed with it. She
right.
was on
That's
board with it.
that's the great point, and that's what the funny thing is that was a plan that you needed everybody. Like if just Pete Buttigieg said, you know what, I'm not dropping out, Joe Biden doesn't get the nomination. You know what I mean? If any of those guys, the moderates, whoever they wanted to call them, I think they're all pretty far left, but he wouldn't have got the nomination. Or like you said, if Warren would have just said, you know what, I can't win this thing, I'm getting out, Bernie wins. So the fact that they all got behind Biden as just, they were the kingmakers here, it's ridiculous. And I think they're going to pay for it big time on election day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I honestly I thought that should have been the end of the Democrat Party when they did it twice. When they screwed Bernie over twice. I mean, I think the far left at that point should have just, been like, we're done. We'd rather vote for Trump than to, be a part of a party where democracy essentially does not matter. Like your vote does not matter. Your vote doesn't matter right now because we all know that Kamala is really the one that's going to be running this country.
Yeah, and they keep saying it, the Harris Biden administration, over and over. And you know what I think is, if to be honest, and this isn't just some ploy here, but if I was a Democrat or I was somebody who's really on the left, a liberal, I would not want Joe Biden to win because you're encouraging the establishment here. And if they would send a message and not turn out for him, I think it would be the last thing the party needed to say, you know what, this was a mistake, because they didn't get the message the first time with Hillary and now they put her through. Honestly, I think Bernie would have won in 2016, because the states they needed, he performed well in. He wasn't going to win Florida, he wasn't going to win some of the other swing states,
Yeah.
but he would have held on to those white voters up in Wisconsin and Michigan. I think he beat Hillary in Michigan. So they didn't have him, and I think Biden would have been able to pull it out. You're only talking 70,000 votes. Back in 2016, he was more with it. But they made the mistake of pushing Hillary, and now Biden, his ship has sailed. This guy should not be anywhere near a presidential campaign. He has no shot in my mind of being able to run a country.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why they've been hiding them and promoting Kamala really, and it's just become fairly obvious that you don't know what you're getting when you vote for the Harris Biden administration, or AKA Biden Harris administration. So we'll see, man.
Yeah,
But it looks like we're at 2 hours and 10 minutes.
yeah, we're
So I think we've thoroughly hashed out more things
we
than we had on the agenda.
sure, man, and we've put in some great technical work too. So next time, hopefully the technical issues will be ready to go and taken care of, and we can do this again.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to probably wire up my internet directly to the computer. I think that's probably the fix. Um, and
I was thinking of that too. If you had a Ethernet or something, the hard line, but we'll see. We can experiment some more.
oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I thank you for the conversation, man. I was nervous at the start of it, but especially when we start having those technical difficulties, I'm like, oh man, I felt like we started off so strong.
Yeah,
I feel like I was
I
on top
know.
of my A game, and then once I got into it with these technical difficulties trying to
I
monitor,
know.
I'm just like, oh, like like what's going on? So, I'm glad we got through it. I hope the audience, wasn't too turned off, and I hope that it gives you a little boost. as
Yeah.
well. And thank you so much for coming on and having the conversation. I hope that we can do this again.
Same here, man. Greg, I appreciate it. And yeah, for all you guys who, I don't know if you suffered through this or the issues were too much, but give us another shot. And I appreciate you guys staying with us. I see some people still in the chat have been here the whole time.
Yeah,
So
shout out to them.
you guys are awesome. Yeah, all you guys, I appreciate it. And we look forward to doing this again soon.
All right, man. It's been real.
All right, Greg, take it easy, my friend.
All right, peace.
See ya.
All right, I ended.